You know what's so funny is that like the last talk that Vitalik gave that was put up on YouTube, he mentions like divorcing your wife like at least 3 times. It's like, well, you wouldn't want to necessarily trust every single application and QR code, but you might end up unexpectedly divorcing your wife or something.
Sure.
Like that.
You say by executing your contract.
Right. He was joking a little bit.
Awesome.
Are we live?
We are live.
All right, I wanna go.
Waiting for Niren though. At least I hope they can hear us through this thing.
The quality is good.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting great.
Awesome.
Nothing here.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, can you hear us?
Yes.
We can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Let's try.
Let's see.
Oh, let's try the audio over here. Actually, we might be able to hear you. Give us a second.
It's me.
You're in the right place, Tim.
You're in your right place. Keep turning.
Keep turning.
It's negative.
Okay. Nice to know.
All right, try to speak now.
Hello. Can you
Still negative.
Still negative.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I think that's. I turn
Can you
all
hear
the way
Hey, what's going on, Tim?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello. Hello.
Oh no.
Can we next time?
Okay, now can you?
Hello.
Oh hey, all right. We can hear you through one thing, not the other.
Okay.
Set default device. Oh, found it. Okay, now it should be going through the speakers.
You're coming to this
We'll try it
tomorrow too, aren't you? Yeah.
Okay, try talking now, Nir.
Hello.
3 days.
So going through
Yeah.
these
Can you hear me?
speakers. We're attempting to.
Okay.
What about this stuff here? That's part of it.
No, it's disconnected because it's HDMI. I think if this is loud enough, we can just do it from here. Okay, I think we're pretty much set up. Let us know if you hear an echo or anything.
Sounds good to me.
Wonderful. Okay. Voice. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for joining. We'll take a seat over here and we can get started.
We open.
Yeah, sure.
Welcome everyone.
I'll just sit right here and with everybody.
Okay.
All right.
No, this is El Paisa.
Everybody, welcome to the Dallas Ethereum Meetup number 3. Right now, we're going to have a few dApps showcasing tonight. So we have ConsenSys, representative from ConsenSys, talking about their energy trading on the blockchain system. We have Dynamis talking about their insurance on the blockchain system. And we're going to have me, Hudson, talking about my marriage smart contract on the blockchain. So first, what we're going to have, is it pronounced Niren?
Neuron.
Niron. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Neuron. I started getting involved with blockchain stuff back in late 2013, which is really the worst possible time to get interested in blockchains because things were priced a little bit high. But after reading everything about Bitcoin that I could, I heard about some guys who were building a decentralized prediction market platform. And that was really interesting to me because I'd heard about what prediction markets could do, how they could give you accurate predictions about pretty much any event by just letting people bet on the outcomes. So that sounded like an awesome thing to work on because like anytime somebody tries to start a prediction market, it ends up getting shut down as online gambling. But if you have a decentralized version that has no middleman, then you can really allow those forecasts of every event to be created without anybody being able to shut them down. So as I started participating in Augur and contributing code there, I kind of I'd heard about Ethereum before, but I didn't really know why it was so special, why you would want Turing-complete blockchains. But slowly it became clear that like if you can run any program on a blockchain, then you can define any economic interaction and represent that data on a system that nobody can forge, or you can trust that any promise that anyone has made, there's cryptographic evidence of that. So then you can react with your information of how well they fulfilled their promise. Or if it's a completely information-oriented transaction like finance, if you're sending money, if you're trading stocks, if those live on the blockchain directly, you can do all of those without needing any middleman. So that was fascinating to me. So I started working at ConsenSys, working on Gnosis, which is their prediction market platform. And then I started working on a project that I started called Benefactory, which is a platform for decentralized nonprofits. So that's me. The project that I'm going to talk about today is Transactive Grid, which is our energy project. So you want me to go ahead and dive into that? I will take that as a yes. So the Transactive Grid project is basically an effort to tokenize energy and allow it to be traded on a blockchain. So let me see if I can pull up the slides that I have. All right. Can you guys see the slides? I will take that as yes. So the Transactive Grid project allows energy to be represented on a blockchain so it can be traded. There's some introductory material in here about what a blockchain is, but I think some of the things I just said, touched on that, and this as well. So what every industry is kind of starting to realize is that if you have this ability to represent all these different kinds of economic transactions on a blockchain, then you can build, basically the ground is shifting under every major industry. Every industry needs to figure out how decentralized economics affect their business model and their ability to continue to profit. Some of today's industries, their business models will have to change to cope with the ability for all the economic transactions that they're based off of to be done without middlemen. So in the energy world, one of the big things that they've been facing is the decentralization of energy, the ability for energy to be generated not just at a power plant, but in any home by putting solar panels on the roof, or wind, all sorts of renewables. One main characteristic of the renewables is that you tend to need less big infrastructure because you're not burning hazardous fuels to generate your energy. You have solar panels that can go anywhere. You have wind turbines that don't necessarily need to be clustered in the same place. So there's this world of decentralized energy that our current electricity grid isn't really built for. One way to think about our energy grid is this giant debt system that you hook up to, because if anytime you try to draw energy from it, the electricity is just going to flow to you. It's the physics of the actual power. You can't say I'm going to pay for this amount of energy and that's all the energy you're going to get. You're going to get energy until they disconnect you from the grid. So it's effectively a debt system, and blockchains are great at representing that debt. You can represent debt in terms of the kilowatt hours that you have pulled from the grid and place those as debts on the blockchain. And if you've produced kilowatt hours to place onto the grid, you can represent those as credits on the blockchain. And you can trade those to allow people to settle up their debts with their credits and allow people who aren't the power company to produce credits and sell them to people who need to pay their bill. So that's one of the big points of the Transactive Grid, is the ability to allow prosumers, people who aren't just consuming energy but also producing it, to be able to sell energy to other people in the marketplace. So basically the focus of the first version of the transactive grid is to make sure that the local renewable energy benefits can be transacted between neighbors. If I'm buying from my neighbor, there's lots of reasons to prefer that over buying from the power plant. My neighbor's closer to me, there's less energy lost when it's being sent over the power grid. There's less, since it's also renewable, there's less actual pollution being created by it. People should want more energy to be generated locally to them, especially since it allows local grids to be more resilient in the event of something bad happening to the power grid. Decentralized energy grids are more resilient because if you have a microgrid, which is a grid that can be disconnected from the main power grid, then you can still operate even when there's something going wrong with the rest of the grid. So that's one of the big parts of this project in Brooklyn. There's a neighborhood that has a microgrid, but they have no ability to transact with one another to be able to trade that energy without the energy company being involved. So the blockchain allows us to build a marketplace for them to actually be able to do that on top of the existing infrastructure that they have today. So the neighborhood is it's called President Street. That's in Park Slope in Brooklyn. So then the idea behind all this is that as energy generation decentralizes, then more and more people will be able to transact and price energy with their neighbors directly, rather than having a price set by us as the people who are running the market. You could have prices that fluctuate over time because the amount of solar energy that can be produced over time varies. It's easier to produce it during the day than at night, so you'll have cheaper energy at noon than you'll have in the evening when you get home. And then we also want to allow the ability for people to buy not just based on the price of the energy, but how the energy was created. We have this ability to create tokens for anything on blockchains. And if you have some sort of rating agency that you trust, someone who's going around saying that this is green energy, this energy has been produced sustainably, etc., you can have this ability to sell tokens of that kind of energy. And there's a lot of people who will pay extra to get those to achieve their ends in the world. So basically, what we talk about when we talk to energy companies is this ability to allow them to cope with this decentralized energy future that they're aiming for. They know that they have to adapt to decentralized energy generation because it's coming. There's no way to stop it. It's getting cheaper and cheaper to deploy solar energy, and if the energy companies who harness that opportunity most effectively are going to be the ones who are able to compete based on price and based on values to their customers. Customers who want to produce their own energy will seek out energy companies that can actually accommodate them. So here are some kind of demo wireframes. So this presentation is before we actually did our deployment in Brooklyn. There's a news article that I probably can't pull up quickly, but if you Google transactive grid, I think it'll come up. Basically in that actual neighborhood, we had the first transaction of actual energy on a blockchain ever in the world. This was about a month ago. People actually traded energy that they produced with each other using a system like this. I won't dive into the wireframes, but that's basically the transactive grid. We now have this ability to trade energy on blockchains, and it'll allow people to sell energy to each other as more and more people are producing energy themselves, rather than relying on energy to be produced by centralized power companies.
Awesome. Are you able to hear us now?
Yes.
Wonderful. We were having some audio troubles. So I had a question. You were referring earlier to being able to sell certain types of energy on the blockchain, like green energy. Is there a way to validate the type of energy via the blockchain, or is it just general trust that the type of energy they say they're trading is that energy?
So when I talk about blockchains, sometimes I like to refer to them as just fancy pieces of paper. Like it's this big piece of paper in the sky that has these special properties that let you trust the things that are actually written on the piece of paper. But if you just write on a piece of paper that, hey, this is green energy, trust me, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You have to take those the same processes that we have in the real world to verify various things. If you go to a grocery store and something says it's organic on it, you might trust that, but you might want something that is certified organic or certified fair trade, and then you're trusting the person, the brand on that label, to actually be the one who's making sure that they give their brand out to the people who are meeting their standards. In the same sense, you would need some sort of oracle, which is a general term for people who provide outside information onto a blockchain. You need an oracle to go out and verify that a particular producer is actually producing green energy. They might say they're producing green energy, and then every once in a while you go and you check, what's their actual capacity here? Are they issuing more tokens than they have capacity for? If so, then maybe they'll lose their certification. But if everything looks right, if they're issuing the amount of credits and they have all the solar panels that are necessary to actually produce that much energy, then they're probably being honest.
Interesting. Anybody here have questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. So I'm interested in this whole system of credits and debits, I guess, as you.
Oh, the audio cut out. I heard the beginning. Still nothing. So I still can't hear you, but while you're working on that, I'm gonna ramble a little bit about credits and debits in the hopes that it might address some of the question that was being asked. So a lot of times, people who've been involved with cryptocurrency for a long time, the most interesting part of it is the fact that you have this token that has a limited quantity, and it's not based on the same sort of debt-based currency that we have in today's world. And while that's a fascinating thing, I think it's important to recognize that blockchains and Ethereum in particular allow you to create any kind of financial instrument from today's world without anyone's permission. So if the more people focus on just the limited quantity of tokens, the more people are missing this opportunity to create new kinds of applications that allow all sorts of things to be built. So I think, like, when I think of things that I can work on, one of the things that I try to look for is whether or not there's debt involved in the system, whether or not there's actually a way to use debt to align people's incentives and